Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a mystery that's fascinated people for literally thousands of years. And we're going to use a really unique lens to do it. Session 3 of the Law of One.
So let's get right to it. How were the Great Pyramids built? Well, according to this material, the answer has nothing to do with ramps or levers or brute force. The real answer, believe it or not, gets into the fundamental nature of reality itself, and it tells us a lot about our own untapped potential.
So, Section 1. Solving an ancient mystery. Let's see what the source material has to say.
Okay, so the source, which calls itself Ra, gives an answer that's, well, it's pretty mind-bending. They say you have to start by seeing that everything, and they mean everything, even a solid piece of rock is made of intelligent energy. It's not dead matter, it's consciousness, just vibrating at a different frequency than us.
And that one idea changes everything. Which brings us to Section 2, the secret of rocks. Because if a rock is intelligent, then building something isn't about muscle. It's about communication.
And this isn't just some vague life force. Ra calls it intelligent infinity. The idea is that the consciousness inside that rock is a little spark of the same infinite intelligence that dreamed up the entire universe. So when you're working with it, you're not just moving stone, you're tapping into the source code of reality itself.
Now here's where the questioner in the session makes this brilliant connection. He asks, is this like the saying that faith can move mountains? And Ra's answer is, yes, that's exactly it. Faith and intelligent infinity, they're just two different ways of describing the exact same universal law.
So this completely flips the script on how you build something. You're not trying to overpower the stone, you're cooperating with it. First, you connect with the rock's own consciousness. Then that consciousness connects with the infinite power of all creation. And finally, you just request for the movement to happen. The pyramid wasn't just constructed, it was an act of co-creation.
Okay, so who could possibly do something like this? I mean, that's a fair question, right? Well, the material lays out two very different ways to access this kind of power. Let's look at Section 3, two paths to power.
So, you've got two options. On one hand, there's the individual path. This requires a single person to become so spiritually pure, so free of any flaws, that they can channel this power all by themselves. As you can imagine, that's an incredibly difficult, almost impossible path. But then there's the unity path. This is where a whole group of people merge their consciousness together into what Ra calls a social memory complex. And the beauty of this is that the group's collective mind can compensate for any one person's imperfections.
And Ra is very clear about which path they used. They didn't rely on one single perfect master. They did it together, as a unified group. The pyramids were pretty literally built by thought. They were thought forms, brought into physical reality by the focused, combined consciousness of their entire civilization.
But wait a minute. This brings up a huge question, a paradox almost. If you can create a pyramid just by thinking it into existence, why would you make it look like it was built out of millions of heavy blocks? This is where we get into Section 4, the Law of Free Will.
And the answer to this question, it really gets to the core of what Ra considers one of the most important laws of the universe. It's a lesson in incredible wisdom and respect.
Here's the reason. They didn't want to just blow our minds with undeniable proof of their power, you know? If they had created one seamless, impossible structure, they would have been worshipped as gods. And that would have totally interfered with humanity's own journey, our own spiritual development.
This all comes down to a principle Ra calls the law of confusion, which is really just another name for the law of free will. The idea is simple. For belief to mean anything, you have to have a choice. There has to be room for doubt, because absolute proof, it removes choice. By making the pyramid out of blocks, they kept the mystery alive. It became a puzzle that invites you to seek, rather than a miracle that demands you worship.
So, the whole block-by-block design was, in a way, an intentional illusion. It was this incredible act of humility and respect for our free will. They built this powerful tool for healing and initiation, but they deliberately hid how it was truly made, all to protect our right to discover things for ourselves. So, let's bring it all home. Beyond just being a cool story about an ancient mystery, what does this all mean for us, for our lives right now?
Let's check out Section 5, Your Path Forward.
When you put all the pieces together, it's pretty profound. We started by asking about how rocks were moved, and we ended up learning about the basic laws of existence. We've seen that the universe we live in is intelligent, it's conscious, that faith isn't just a belief, it's a real form of communication, that real power can be found either through intense personal discipline or through the magic of unity. But maybe the biggest takeaway is that our free will, our ability to choose our own path, is so sacred that the builders of these incredible structures went to great lengths just to protect.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought to take with us. This isn't just an old story. It's a new way to see everything. If you really truly accepted that every part of your reality, the ground beneath your feet, the air you're breathing, every person you meet, is intelligent and alive, what's one thing you would do differently today?